The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, silencing the entire ballroom. Daniel Reed stood frozen, his worn suit jacket suddenly feeling tighter as 200 pairs of eyes turned toward him. The engagement party, Sophia's engagement party, their engagement party, had just become a spectacle, and he was the unwilling star. "Look at what you've done," Victoria Grant's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Her diamond necklace caught the chandelier light as she stepped forward, her heels clicking ominously. "You can't even hold a glass properly. How exactly do you plan to provide for my daughter?" Daniel's fingers trembled as he knelt to pick up the shards. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Grant, it slipped. I'll clean this up." "Of course you will," Lucas Grant, Sophia's older brother, sneered from across the room. He adjusted his Rolex and moved closer, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "That's probably the most expensive thing you've ever held. What did that cost, Mother? 500? 1,000? That's what, 3 months of salary for our dear mechanic here." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he kept his eyes down, carefully collecting the glass pieces. He could feel the heat rising to his face, the familiar burn of humiliation that had become almost routine since he'd started dating Sophia. "Daniel, just leave it." Sophia's voice was soft, almost apologetic, but there was something else there too, embarrassment. She wouldn't meet his eyes. He stood slowly, glass fragments cupped in his palm. "It's fine, I've got it." "No, what's not fine?" Richard Grant's deep baritone filled the room as Sophia's father approached. "Is that we're celebrating my daughter's engagement to someone who doesn't even own a proper suit." He looked Daniel up and down with undisguised contempt. "Tell me, son, what exactly attracted you to Sophia? Was it her charming personality, or perhaps the Grant family fortune?" The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. Daniel's hands clenched around the glass, a sharp edge cutting into his palm. He welcomed the pain. It gave him something to focus on besides the rage building in his chest. "I love your daughter, sir." Daniel's voice was steady despite everything. "That's all that matters to me." "Love?" Victoria laughed, the sound brittle and cruel. "How quaint. Tell me, where exactly did you two meet? Was it at the country club? Oh wait, you wouldn't have access there. The yacht club? No, that doesn't seem right either." She tapped her chin mockingly. "Ah yes, wasn't it at that dreadful little coffee shop near your garage? How romantic." "Mother, please." Sophia finally spoke up, but her voice lacked conviction. She stood beside her mother in a designer gown that cost more than Daniel made in 6 months, looking like she belonged to a different world entirely, because she did. "Please what, darling?" Victoria turned to her daughter. "Please pretend that this is acceptable, that marrying beneath our station won't destroy everything your father and I have built." Daniel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It was probably his assistant again, the 5th call today. Some things could wait. This confrontation, however humiliating, was about his future with the woman he loved. "Mr. Grant," Daniel addressed Sophia's father directly, "I know I'm not what you envisioned for Sophia, but I work hard. I own my business." "A garage," Lucas interrupted with a snort. "You fix cars. My father owns 17 manufacturing plants across 3 continents. Do you see the difference?" "I see that you measure a man's worth by his bank account," Daniel replied quietly. "I measure it differently." The room went silent again. Richard Grant's expression darkened, his face turning an alarming shade of red. He stepped closer to Daniel, close enough that Daniel could smell his expensive cologne. "You have some nerve," Richard said softly, dangerously. "Coming into my home, eating my food, drinking my champagne, even if you can't hold it properly, and lecturing me about values." "I wasn't lecturing, sir. I was just—" "You were just speaking out of turn." Richard's voice rose with each word. "You were just embarrassing my daughter. You were just proving exactly what I've been saying all along, that you don't belong here." Daniel looked past Richard to Sophia. She stood there, beautiful and distant, her fingers twisting the engagement ring he'd saved 6 months to buy. It wasn't a Grant family heirloom, wasn't worth a small fortune. It was simple, modest, and bought with honest money. Looking at her face now, he wondered if she was ashamed of it. "Sophia," he said quietly, Can we talk privately? She hesitated, glancing at her mother. That single glance told Daniel everything he needed to know about where her loyalties lay. I think you should go, Daniel, Sophia said finally. This isn't the right time. When is the right time? Daniel's composure cracked slightly. When your family isn't insulting me, that time never comes, Sophia. Don't you dare raise your voice to my daughter, Richard stepped between them. Security. That won't be necessary, Daniel said, raising his hands. Blood from the glass cut dripped onto the white marble. I'm leaving. He turned toward the exit, and the crowd parted like he was diseased. He could hear the whispers starting already, the speculation and gossip that would fuel country club conversations for weeks. Daniel, wait. Sophia caught his arm at the door. Her touch was gentle, familiar. I'm sorry, they're just protective. Protective? Daniel looked at her, really looked at her. Sophia, they just humiliated me in front of everyone you know. They accused me of being a gold digger. They're my family, she said firmly. And you're going to be part of this family. That means dealing with difficult moments. Difficult moments? Daniel laughed, a harsh sound. Is that what you call this? What do you want me to do? Sophia's voice rose in frustration. Choose between you and them? That's not fair. I never asked you to choose. I asked you to stand beside me. I am standing beside you. I'm still wearing your ring, aren't I? Daniel looked at the modest diamond, then at the Cartier bracelet on her other wrist. A gift from her father, no doubt. 2 different worlds, 1 wrist. Yeah, he said softly, you are. He left without another word, walking through the grand foyer with its priceless art and fresh flowers that cost more than most people's monthly rent. His truck looked out of place among the luxury cars in the circular driveway, a rusty reminder of reality crashing an elegant fantasy. Inside the truck, Daniel sat for a moment, breathing deeply. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at it. 3 missed calls from James Mitchell, his executive assistant. Well, his real executive assistant, the one who managed his actual fortune. The billions that nobody, especially not the Grants, knew existed. He almost called James back, almost activated the protocols that would reveal everything, almost proved to Richard Grant and his insufferable family exactly who they were dealing with. Instead, he started the engine and drove away from the mansion, leaving the party and its cruel laughter behind. The decision to hide his wealth had seemed noble 6 months ago when he'd met Sophia. He'd been burned before by women who loved his money more than him. This time, he'd thought, would be different. This time, he'd find someone who loved Daniel Reed the person, not Daniel Reed the billionaire heir. But maybe he'd been testing the wrong person all along. 3 weeks later, Daniel stood at the altar in a church that screamed old money. The wedding had been planned entirely by Victoria Grant, who'd made it clear that Daniel's opinions on flowers, music, or seating arrangements were neither wanted nor needed. He was, after all, just the groom. You clean up nice, Lucas said from beside him. Sophia had insisted her brother be Daniel's best man, another battle Daniel had lost. Almost looked like you belong here, almost. Daniel adjusted his tie, rented, because Victoria had deemed his only suit absolutely unacceptable for a Grant wedding, and said nothing. Let me give you some advice, Lucas continued, his smile sharp. My sister is used to a certain lifestyle, country club memberships, summer homes, European vacations. Your little garage isn't going to cut it. I'll take care of Sophia, Daniel said evenly. Will you? Lucas laughed quietly. With what? Your sparkling personality? Face it, Reed, you're marrying up way up. The least you can do is acknowledge it. The organ music swelled before Daniel could respond. The guests stood, and Sophia appeared at the end of the aisle on her father's arm. She was breathtaking in her designer gown, every inch the society princess. For a moment, Daniel forgot the humiliation, the constant belittling, the knowledge that her family would never accept him. For a moment, it was just her smile and the promise of their future together. That moment lasted approximately 4 hours. The reception was held at the Grant estate, because of course it was. Daniel found himself seated at the head table, watching Sophia dance with her father while guests congratulated the Grants on the beautiful wedding. Not congratulations to the happy couple, just congratulations to the Grants, as if Daniel was merely an accessory to their perfect day. "Quite a catch your daughter made," Daniel overheard someone say to Victoria. "He's very handsome at least, good genetics for the grandchildren." "Yes, well," Victoria's reply dripped with forced politeness. "One must make allowances for love, though between you and me, I give it 2 years, once Sophia realizes what she's given up." Daniel's grip tightened on his champagne glass. He wouldn't drop this one. He'd learned his lesson. "Daniel," Sophia appeared beside him, flushed and happy from dancing. "Why are you sitting here alone? Come dance with me." He let her pull him onto the dance floor, aware of the eyes following them. The mechanic and the heiress, the charity case and the princess. He could almost hear the thoughts. "Are you happy?" he asked as they swayed to the music. "Of course I'm happy. I just married you, didn't I?" "That's not what I asked." Sophia pulled back slightly to look at him. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, everything, I don't know." Daniel shook his head. "Do you ever think we're making a mistake?" "Daniel Reed, we just got married. This is not the time for cold feet." "I'm not the one with cold feet. I'm just wondering if you're ready for what life with me actually looks like, because it's not this." He gestured at the opulent ballroom, the ice sculptures, the champagne fountain. "I know that," Sophia said, but her eyes flickered with something that might have been doubt. The honeymoon was a weekend at a modest bed and breakfast upstate, all Daniel could afford without dipping into his hidden accounts. Sophia spent most of it on her phone, liking photos from friends who jetted off to Bali or the Maldives for their honeymoons. Real life started on Monday. The Grants had graciously offered them the guest house on their estate until Daniel could get on his feet. It was a temporary arrangement, Victoria had assured them, just until Daniel's business picked up enough to afford something appropriate for a grant. The guest house was larger than most people's homes, but it came with a price Daniel hadn't anticipated: constant surveillance. "Daniel dear," Victoria appeared at their door most mornings, always at breakfast time. "I was just checking to see if you needed anything." "Oh, you're still in your work clothes. Don't you have someone at the garage to handle the early morning calls?" "I am the owner, Mrs. Grant. I handle what needs handling." "Yes, but surely you can hire someone." "It's so," she wrinkled her nose, unbecoming for Sophia's husband to smell like motor oil. Or there was Richard, appearing in the evening. "Daniel, son, I've been thinking, this garage business of yours, it's admirable, really, that entrepreneurial spirit, but have you considered selling it? I could find you a position at one of my companies. Middle management, decent salary, not what you'd make if you had a real education, but respectable enough." "I appreciate the offer, sir, but I built my business from nothing. I'm not interested in selling." "Pride goeth before a fall," Richard said ominously, "something to think about." The worst was Lucas, who seemed to make it his personal mission to stop by whenever Sophia was out. "How's married life treating you?" Lucas would ask, helping himself to their refrigerator. "Must be quite an adjustment for my sister, living like this." "We're happy." "Are you?" Because Sophia mentioned to Mother that she misses having a housekeeper and a cook and, well, staff in general, but I'm sure she'll adjust to doing her own laundry eventually. It was during one of these visits that everything changed. Daniel returned home early one afternoon to find Lucas in their living room, not alone. Sophia sat across from him, papers spread across the coffee table. "What's this?" Daniel asked. "Oh good, you're here," Lucas said, not bothering to stand. "We need to talk about finances." "Excuse me." "Sophia and I were just going over your accounts." "Well, your account, singular, it's concerning, Daniel, very concerning." "You were looking at my bank statements." Daniel turned to Sophia. "You gave him access to my personal accounts." "He's my brother," Sophia said defensively. "He was just trying to help. And Daniel, I had no idea things were this tight. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he had billions in accounts they didn't know existed, because he was testing them. Because every day that passed made him more certain he'd been right to hide the truth. Our finances are fine, Daniel said carefully, more than fine. Really, Lucas held up a statement, because this says otherwise. You've got what, 30,000 in savings? Your business account has barely 50,000. Daniel, my sister's monthly spa budget is more than that. Then maybe her spa budget needs adjusting. Adjusting? Sophia stood up, her voice rising. Are you serious? You want me to give up the things I enjoy because you can't? She stopped, but the damage was done. Because I can't what, Sophia? Provide for you the way your father does, keep you in the lifestyle you're accustomed to. Is that what this marriage is about? That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Lucas stood, clearly enjoying the conflict. Look, Reed, nobody's attacking you. We're just being realistic. Sophia deserves a certain standard of living. If you can't provide that, maybe it's time to swallow your pride and accept some help. I don't need your help. Yes, Lucas said coldly, you do, you absolutely do. And the sooner you accept that, the better off everyone will be. After Lucas left, the argument continued. Why are you being so stubborn? Sophia demanded. My family is trying to help us. Your family is trying to control us. There's a difference. Is it so wrong that they care, that they want me to be happy? And I don't make you happy. Sophia's silence was answer enough. That night, Daniel lay awake beside his sleeping wife, staring at the ceiling. One phone call. That's all it would take. One call to James Mitchell, and he could end this charade. He could reveal the truth, show the Grants exactly who they'd been insulting, prove that he was more than capable of providing anything Sophia could ever want. But what would that prove, really? That money solved everything, that he was right to mistrust people's intentions? Or would it just prove that the Grants had been right all along, that this marriage was about wealth and status, not love? He didn't make the call. The accusations started small. A missing necklace that Victoria was certain she'd left on their counter. A rumor at the country club that Daniel had been seen talking to Sophia's ex-boyfriend. Whispers that the garage was a front for something less legitimate. Where exactly does your money come from? Richard asked over an increasingly uncomfortable family dinner. Your business financials don't quite add up, from what I understand. I'm sorry, are you auditing me? Daniel set down his fork. I'm protecting my daughter. Surely you can understand that. What I understand is that you've never trusted me. From day one, you've looked for reasons to believe the worst. Can you blame me? Richard leaned forward. A mechanic sweeps my daughter off her feet with no family background, no real references, no connections. You appeared out of nowhere, Daniel. That makes a father nervous. I appeared from the working class. Is that such a crime? The working class, Victoria interjected, doesn't usually have such refined tastes. I've noticed your watch, Daniel. That's not a Timex. And your shoes, while not designer, are certainly expensive. Where does a struggling garage owner get the money for such things? Daniel had been careless. The watch was a graduation gift from his real family, the shoes Italian leather he'd owned for years. He'd gotten comfortable, let his guard slip. I save for quality items, he said carefully. They last longer. Do they? Lucas smirked. Or is there something you're not telling us? Another income source, perhaps? I've heard that some mechanics get creative with insurance claims, if you know what I mean. I know exactly what you mean, and I don't appreciate the insinuation. Then clear it up, Richard demanded. Show us your full financial picture, prove that you're legitimate. I don't have to prove anything to you. Yes, Richard said coldly, you do. You married into this family. That means transparency. Sophia, sitting beside her mother, said nothing, just twisted her napkin in her lap and avoided Daniel's eyes. The real accusation came 2 weeks later. Daniel arrived home to find police cars in the driveway. His heart stopped. Something had happened to Sophia. An accident, a break-in, something terrible. He ran into the house, where Richard stood in the foyer with two officers. "What's going on? Where's Sophia?" "She's fine," Richard said coldly. "More than fine, now that we're dealing with this situation." "What situation?" One of the officers stepped forward. "Mr. Reed, we need to ask you some questions about a series of fraudulent transactions traced to your business accounts." "Fraudulent? What are you talking about?" "Credit cards opened in your wife's name, large purchases made and returned for cash. We've traced the activity to your garage's computer system." Daniel's mind raced. Someone had hacked his business accounts, committed fraud using Sophia's identity. This was bad, but it was clearly a misunderstanding. "Officers, I think there's been a mistake. I run a legitimate business. If there's fraud involved, I'm a victim too." "That's not what the evidence suggests," the second officer said. "We're going to need you to come down to the station." "This is ridiculous. Richard, tell them this is." "I'm the one who called them," Richard said calmly. "After our accountants discovered the fraud, after Sophia found the credit card statements hidden in your office." "Hidden? I don't hide," understanding dawned. "You planted them, you set this up." "I protected my daughter from a con artist." "I want to talk to Sophia now." "She doesn't want to see you." Victoria appeared on the stairs. "She's devastated, Daniel, absolutely devastated to learn what you really are." "What I really am," Daniel's voice rose. "I'm her husband, I love her, this is insane." "Mr. Reed," one of the officers said firmly, "we need you to come with us. You can call your lawyer from the station." His lawyer, his real lawyer, the one who handled his actual affairs. This could all be cleared up with one phone call, one revelation of the truth, but something stopped him. The look on Richard's face, triumph mixed with contempt. The way Victoria watched from the stairs, already savoring her victory. The fact that Sophia wouldn't even come down to face him. They'd gone this far to destroy him. They'd committed fraud themselves, framed him for it, just to drive him away from their daughter. What did that say about the family he'd married into? What did it say about Sophia, that she'd believed them so easily? "Am I under arrest?" Daniel asked the officers. "Not at this time, we just need to ask some questions. Then I'll come voluntarily, but I want it noted that I'm cooperating fully and that I deny any involvement in fraud." At the station, Daniel answered every question truthfully to a point. Yes. He owned the garage. No, he hadn't noticed any suspicious activity. No, he hadn't opened credit cards in his wife's name. Yes, he could provide alibi information for the times in question. What he didn't mention was the offshore accounts, the investment portfolios, the real estate holdings across 3 continents, the fact that he could buy and sell Richard Grant's entire company without affecting his net worth. They released him after 6 hours. No charges, but the damage was done. When Daniel returned to the guest house, his belongings were in boxes on the lawn. The locks had been changed. A restraining order was taped to the door. Sophia Grant was seeking protection from her allegedly abusive, fraudulent husband. Daniel sat on the steps of what had briefly been his home, surrounded by boxes that held his carefully maintained disguise. His cheap clothes, his modest electronics, his fake life. His phone buzzed. James Mitchell, his assistant, calling for the 8th time that day. This time, Daniel answered. "James." "Thank God, sir. I've been trying to reach you. There are several urgent matters that need your attention. The Tokyo deal is closing tomorrow, and—" "James, I need you to do something for me." "Of course, sir." "I need you to look into Grant Industries. Everything. Their debt, their assets, their vulnerabilities. I want a complete picture within 24 hours. A pause, sir. Is this about? Just do it, James. Right away. Daniel ended the call and looked up at the main house, where lights blazed in every window. He could see silhouettes moving behind the curtains. The Grants, celebrating their victory over the mechanic who dared to reach above his station. They had no idea what was coming. But they would, soon. Daniel stood, dusted off his jeans, and walked away from the Grant estate. He didn't look back. Looking back was for people who had regrets, and Daniel Reed had none. He'd learned exactly what he needed to know about the Grants, about Sophia, about what happened when you tried to be something you weren't. It was time to stop pretending. It was time to show them who he really was. 3 months passed. Daniel disappeared so thoroughly that it was like he'd never existed. The fraud charges were quietly dropped when investigators discovered the real culprit, a disgruntled employee at one of Richard Grant's companies who'd been paid to frame Daniel. The Grants never publicized that part. Sophia filed for divorce. Daniel's lawyer, still his public defender, still maintaining the illusion, didn't contest it. She kept the ring. He kept his dignity. Or so the Grants believed. In reality, those 3 months had been very busy for Daniel Reed, just not as a mechanic. As CEO of Reed Holdings, he'd orchestrated a series of strategic moves that even his board of directors had called aggressive. He'd acquired their main competitor. He'd cornered the market on a specific manufacturing component Grant Industries needed. He'd bought up their debt through shell corporations. And now he waited. The call came on a Tuesday. James delivered the news with barely concealed satisfaction. Grant Industries is seeking investors. They're calling it an expansion opportunity, but the internal memo says they're 30 days from defaulting on their loans. What happened? Daniel asked, though he knew he'd made it happen. The Garrison contract fell through. The European market dried up. Their primary lender called in their debts. It's a perfect storm, and between you and me, sir, it looks almost orchestrated. Does it? Daniel allowed himself a small smile. Set up a meeting. I want to discuss their investor opportunity. Under what name? Mine, my real one. It's time the Grants met Daniel Reed, CEO of Reed Holdings. Sir, they'll recognize you. I'm counting on it. The meeting was set for Friday at the Grant Industries headquarters. Daniel dressed carefully that morning, Tom Ford suit, Patek Philippe watch, custom Italian shoes. His hair, which he'd kept slightly shaggy as a mechanic, was cut and styled by the same barber who served 3 presidents. His car, a Bugatti he normally kept garaged, waited in the driveway of his Manhattan penthouse. The penthouse where he'd always lived, even during his marriage. Sophia had never known it existed. She'd never known a lot of things. James rode with him to the meeting. Are you sure about this, sir? There are other ways to handle this. I'm not handling anything, Daniel said. I'm just a potential investor looking at a business opportunity. With the family that destroyed your marriage. They didn't destroy my marriage, James. They revealed what it really was. There's a difference. Grant Industries' headquarters was a gleaming tower in downtown Manhattan, visible from Daniel's own office 15 blocks away. He'd driven past it 1,000 times, knowing that Richard Grant sat in a corner office, completely unaware that the mechanic he'd humiliated was actually a bigger player in this city than he'd ever be. The elevator ride to the top floor was smooth and quick. The receptionist was professional and courteous until she saw his name on the appointment sheet. Her eyes widened. Mr. Reed, is there a problem? No, sir, no problem at all. I'll let Mr. Grant know you're here. She disappeared through a door, and Daniel could hear raised voices. Confusion, probably. The name Reed wasn't common enough to be a coincidence, but surely it couldn't be the same person. The receptionist reappeared, flustered. Mr. Grant will see you now, right this way. The conference room was all glass and steel, with a view of Manhattan that would have been impressive to anyone who didn't own a better one. Richard Grant stood at the head of the table, with Lucas beside him. Both men froze when Daniel walked in. Hello, Richard. Lucas. Daniel's voice was pleasant, professional. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. What the hell is this? Richard found his voice first. Some kind of joke. Not at all. I'm here to discuss your investor opportunity. Daniel took a seat without being invited. Please sit. I'd like to hear more about Grant Industries' financial situation. Get out, Lucas said. We're not meeting with you. I don't know what game you're playing. The game is business, Daniel interrupted, and I'm very good at it. Now, shall we discuss the terms, or should I take my $10 million investment elsewhere? 10 million, the exact amount they needed to avoid defaulting. The exact amount Daniel knew they needed, because he'd engineered the situation to require exactly that much. Richard and Lucas exchanged looks, pride warred with desperation on their faces. How do you have $10 million? Richard asked finally. You're a mechanic. I was a mechanic, Daniel corrected. When I wanted to be, when I was trying to understand if Sophia could love a man for who he was, not what he had. But my real name isn't just Daniel Reed. It's Daniel Reed, CEO of Reed Holdings. Perhaps you've heard of it. The color drained from Richard's face. Reed Holdings was one of the largest private equity firms in the country. It owned hotels, manufacturing plants, technology companies. It was the kind of company that bought and sold businesses like Grant Industries before breakfast. That's not possible, Lucas said weakly. We checked you out. We had investigators. Who found exactly what I wanted them to find, Daniel said. A small garage, a modest apartment, a simple life. Because that's what I wanted Sophia to see. I wanted someone who would love me without the money, without the power, without the name. Turns out I was right to worry. Sophia doesn't know. Richard sat down heavily. Sophia knows I'm a mechanic who wasn't good enough for her family. Daniel's voice hardened. She knows her father framed me for fraud. She knows her mother called me a gold digger. She knows her brother mocked my suits and my truck and my pathetic attempts to provide for her. What she doesn't know is that I could have bought your entire estate with pocket change, that I chose not to because I wanted authenticity, that I valued truth over status. This is insane, Lucas muttered. What's insane is that you're sitting here, facing bankruptcy, and you're more concerned about your pride than your survival. Daniel opened his briefcase and removed a folder. Here's my offer. I'll invest the $10 million you need. In exchange, I want 51% controlling interest in Grant Industries. Absolutely not, Richard said immediately. Then enjoy bankruptcy. I hear there's a lovely dignity in it. You're doing this for revenge, Lucas accused. This is about Sophia. This is about business. You need capital. I have capital. Whether or not you accept has nothing to do with your sister and everything to do with your balance sheet. Richard's hands shook as he picked up the folder. Daniel watched him read through the terms, watched the realization dawn that this was a generous offer, better than generous. It was a lifeline dressed as a takeover. I need to discuss this with the board, Richard said finally. You have 24 hours. After that, I take my offer to Garrison Industries. I hear they're interested in acquiring you at a significant discount. Daniel stood, smoothing his suit. Oh, and Richard, for what it's worth, I never wanted any of this. I wanted a simple life with someone I loved. Your family took that from me. Now I'm taking something from you, call it karma. He walked out, leaving them in shocked silence. That evening, Daniel sat in his penthouse with a glass of scotch, watching the sun set over Manhattan. His phone rang. Sophia. He stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Hello, Sophia. Daniel, her voice broke. My father just told me about who you really are, about Reed Holdings. I don't understand. What don't you understand? Why didn't you tell me? Why did you lie? I never lied, Daniel said calmly. I told you I owned a garage. I do. I told you I worked with my hands. I did. I never claimed to be anything other than what I showed you. You and your family were the ones who decided that wasn't good enough. But you have billions. You could have. Could have what? Proved I was worthy by flashing my bank account. That's exactly what I was trying to avoid, Sophia. I wanted to know if you could love Daniel Reed the person. And you answered that question pretty clearly when you let your family destroy me without even asking for my side of the story. Silence on the line. I'm sorry, she whispered finally. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have trusted you. I was weak and scared and now you know the truth. Now your father is facing the consequences of his actions. How does it feel? It feels awful. Daniel, please, don't do this. Don't take the company. My father built that business from nothing. It's his legacy. Like I built my garage from nothing? Daniel asked. Like I built a life from nothing, only to have your family accuse me of fraud and theft. Where was your concern for my legacy then? I know I failed you, but please. Your father has 24 hours to decide. That's more consideration than he ever gave me. Daniel ended the call. His hand was steady as he set the phone down, but his heart wasn't. Seeing Sophia's name on his screen, hearing her voice, it brought back memories of why he'd fallen in love with her in the first place. The woman who'd laughed at his jokes in the coffee shop, who'd seemed different from other wealthy women he'd met, who'd made him believe that maybe, just maybe, authenticity could win over artifice. But she'd proven him wrong. They all had. His phone rang again, this time Richard Grant. I accept your terms, Richard said without preamble, 51%, but I have one condition. You're not in a position to make conditions. Just hear me out. I want you to meet with Sophia, really talk to her, not about business, about what happened, about us. He paused. I was wrong, Daniel, about everything. I let my prejudices blind me to who you really are. I treated you abominably. His voice cracked. I destroyed my daughter's marriage because I was too proud to see past my own assumptions. That's very self-aware of you, Richard, but it doesn't change anything. I know, but maybe talking to Sophia will. She loves you, she's miserable without you, and I think you still love her too. Daniel said nothing. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Richard continued. At the estate, just you and Sophia, the rest of us will make ourselves scarce. Please, Daniel, if not for me, then for her. She deserves a chance to explain. She had chances, she didn't take them. Because she was scared, because I raised her to value the wrong things, because she's never had to fight for anything in her life, and she didn't know how to fight for you. Richard's voice was raw now, vulnerable. Don't make her pay forever for my mistakes. Daniel closed his eyes. The thing about revenge was that it felt good in theory. In practice, it just felt hollow. I'll be there, he said finally, but I'm not making any promises. That's all I ask. The next morning, Daniel drove to the Grant estate in his Bugatti. He parked in the circular driveway where his truck had once looked so out of place. The mansion loomed before him, exactly as he remembered it, but now he saw it differently. It wasn't impressive anymore. It was just a house, smaller than his penthouse, less valuable than several properties he owned. The door opened before he could knock. Sophia stood there, and Daniel's breath caught despite himself. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked like the woman he'd met in that coffee shop before the designer gowns and country club appearances. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I wasn't sure you would. Your father can be persuasive when his company is on the line. She flinched. That's fair, I deserve that. They stood in awkward silence for a moment before Sophia stepped aside. Come in, everyone else is gone, like my father promised. The house felt different, empty. Their footsteps echoed on the marble floors. Sophia led him to a small sitting room, not the formal parlor where he'd been humiliated, but a cozy space with worn furniture and family photos. This was my mother's favorite room, Sophia said, settling onto a sofa. Before she turned into the person you met, she used to be different, warmer, but years of society expectations changed her. She looked up at Daniel. I guess I let the same thing happen to me. Daniel remained standing, his hands in his pockets. Why am I here, Sophia? Because I need to apologize, really apologize, not the half-hearted attempts I made before. She took a deep breath. You were right about everything. I was weak. I let my family's opinions matter more than my own judgment. When they accused you of fraud, I should have known it was impossible. I should have defended you. Instead, I hid upstairs like a coward. Yes, Daniel said simply, you did. I was raised to believe that money equals worth, that status equals value. My parents' approval was everything because without it, I'd be nothing in the world I knew. Tears welled in her eyes. But losing you taught me that I was already nothing. A person without courage, without loyalty, without the strength to stand by the man she claimed to love. So you've had an epiphany. Congratulations. Don't do that, Sophia said, her voice breaking. Don't pretend you don't feel anything. I know you, Daniel, the real you, not the billionaire CEO, but the man who held my hand in that coffee shop and told me about his dreams. That man had feelings. That man loved me. That man was an idiot, Daniel said harshly. He thought love could overcome class divides and family prejudice. He thought authenticity mattered more than bank accounts. He was wrong. Was he? Sophia stood, moving closer. Because you're here, Daniel, you could have destroyed my family from afar, taken the company without ever setting foot in this house again. But you're here, talking to me, which means some part of you still cares. Daniel turned away, looking out the window at the manicured gardens. I'm here because your father asked me to be, nothing more. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. It doesn't change what happened. No, it doesn't. Sophia's voice was stronger now. But it could change what happens next. Daniel, I can't undo the past 3 months. I can't take back my silence or my family's cruelty. But I can tell you the truth now. I love you. Not Reed Holdings, not your billions, not your penthouse or your cars, or whatever else comes with your real identity. I love the man who fixed my car when it broke down and refused to charge me for labor. The man who took me to food trucks instead of 5-star restaurants because he said the food was better. The man who made me laugh and think and question everything I'd been taught about what matters in life. That man doesn't exist anymore. Yes, he does. He's standing right here, trying very hard to pretend he's someone else. Sophia moved into his line of sight. You know what I think? I think you're scared. You revealed yourself to my family, but you haven't revealed yourself to me. Not really. You're still hiding, just behind a different mask now. That's psychoanalysis from someone who doesn't have a degree. That's truth from someone who knows you. She reached for his hand, and he didn't pull away. Ask me, Daniel. Ask me what you really want to know. He looked at their joined hands, hers soft and uncalloused, his marked with old scars from his garage days. If I'd told you the truth from the beginning, would it have made a difference? Honestly, probably. My family would have welcomed you with open arms. We would have had an easy life together. She squeezed his hand. But I wouldn't have become who I am now. I wouldn't have learned what really matters, and you wouldn't have gotten your answer. What answer? Whether I could love you for you. Sophia smiled sadly. I failed that test spectacularly, didn't I? Yes. So give me another one. She stepped closer. Not as your wife. I know I lost that right. Not even as your girlfriend. Just as Sophia, trying to prove she's not the person she was 3 months ago. And how exactly would you do that? However you want. I'll work for Reed Holdings, start at the bottom, show you I understand what real work is. I'll publicly apologize for my family's treatment of you. I'll sign a prenup that gives me nothing if we ever reconcile and it fails again. I'll do whatever it takes to prove I've changed. Daniel pulled his hand away. You want to work for me? Start at the bottom of my company. If that's what it takes. Sophia, you've never worked a day in your life. You don't know what you're offering. Then I'll learn. Her chin lifted, stubborn. I'm not the helpless princess my parents raised anymore. Or maybe I am, but I want to be different. I need to be different, Daniel, not for you, for me. Because the person I was, the person who let you be humiliated and accused and thrown out without defending you, that person disgusts me. Daniel studied her face, looking for the lies, the manipulation, the calculation. He found only raw honesty and pain. Your father accepts my terms, he said finally. I take controlling interest in Grant Industries on Monday, which means I'll be your family's boss. I know. Which means watching your father take orders from the mechanic he despised, watching your brother report to me, watching your mother smile and pretend she didn't call me a gold digger in front of 200 people. I know that too. And you're okay with that, with me having that power over your family. Sophia's eyes shimmered. My family earned that fate. They were cruel and prejudiced and wrong. If this is the consequence, then so be it. I just hope, she stopped. Hope what? That you'll be fair, that you won't let revenge turn you into something you're not. Because the Daniel I fell in love with was kind. Even when he was being humiliated, even when he had every right to lash out, he stayed kind. I'd hate to see that man disappear. Daniel felt something crack inside his chest. She was right. He'd spent 3 months planning this takeover, imagining the look on Richard's face when he realized the truth, savoring the reversal of fortune. But what had it gained him? A company he didn't need, power over people he didn't respect, the hollow victory of proving he was richer than them. I should go, he said. Please don't. Sophia caught his arm. Stay, have coffee with me, not as adversaries or exes or whatever we are now, just as two people who used to make each other happy. Against his better judgment, Daniel nodded. They sat in the kitchen, the actual kitchen, not the show kitchen Victoria used for entertaining, and Sophia made coffee with slightly trembling hands. She burned the first pot, laughed nervously, and tried again. I really have never done this, she admitted. We always had staff. I know. Did it bother you that I was so useless at basic things? Daniel considered. Sometimes, but I thought you'd learn, I thought we'd have time. We could still have time. Sophia. I know, I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying it's possible, if we wanted it to be. She set a mug in front of him. The coffee was too strong, slightly bitter. It was perfect. They talked for 2 hours, about nothing important and everything important. Sophia told him about the last 3 months, the depression that had swallowed her, the realization that she'd thrown away the best thing in her life. Daniel told her about Reed Holdings, about his childhood as the heir to a fortune, about the loneliness of never knowing if people liked him for himself. I get it now, Sophia said quietly. Why you hid? I would have done the same thing if I were you. Would you, really? Okay, probably not. I would have announced it with skywriting and a parade. She smiled ruefully. But I understand the impulse. You wanted to be known for who you are, not what you have. And instead I ended up alone, with neither. You're not alone. You have your company, your success. None of that matters without someone to share it with. Daniel looked at her directly. That's the thing about money, Sophia. It solves problems, but it doesn't create happiness. I learned that the hard way. So did I. She reached across the table, her hand hovering near his. Can I ask you something? Depends what it is. If we could start over, completely fresh, no history, no baggage, would you want to? Daniel's phone buzzed. James, reminding him of an afternoon meeting, the real world intruding on this moment of vulnerability. I don't know, he said honestly. Part of me wants to say yes immediately, but the part that got hurt, that got humiliated and accused and thrown out, that part is scared. I'm scared too, Sophia whispered. Terrified, actually, but maybe being scared means it matters. Maybe if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth fighting for. Before Daniel could respond, voices echoed from the front of the house. The door opened, and Richard's voice called out, Sophia, is Daniel still here? They looked at each other, and something passed between them, an understanding, a possibility, a maybe. We are in the kitchen, Sophia called back. Richard appeared in the doorway with Lucas behind him. Both men looked haggard, older than they had yesterday. Richard's eyes went to the coffee mugs, the relaxed posture, and something like hope flickered across his face. I'm sorry to interrupt, Richard said, but Daniel, I wanted to speak with you before Monday about the transition. We can meet at my office tomorrow, Daniel said, 9 a.m. Actually, I was hoping we could talk now, all of us. Richard gestured to include Lucas and Sophia, as a family or what's left of one. Daniel raised an eyebrow. I'm not family anymore, Richard. No, but you're going to be our boss. And before that happens, before the contracts are signed and everything becomes official, I need to say something. Richard pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. I owe you an apology, a real one, not the corporate sorry if you were offended nonsense. I was wrong about you from the start. I judged you based on your clothes and your job and your bank account, or what I thought was your bank account. I treated you like you were beneath us, when the truth is, you were always better than us. Better character, better values, better everything. Lucas shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. I let my prejudices poison my daughter's marriage, Richard continued. I orchestrated fraud to drive you away. His voice broke. I destroyed something beautiful because I was too proud to admit that a mechanic could be good enough for my daughter. And now I discover you weren't even really a mechanic. You were a CEO playing a role, testing us, and we failed so spectacularly that it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. Dad, Sophia started. Let me finish. Richard looked at Daniel. I can't undo what I did. I can't give you back those months of marriage, can't erase the humiliation, can't restore your trust in my daughter, but I can tell you that you were right about everything. Money doesn't equal worth, status doesn't equal value, and a man should be judged by his character, not his credentials. He stood and extended his hand. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I understand exactly what I lost when I drove you away. Daniel stared at the outstretched hand. Every instinct screamed not to take it, not to give Richard the satisfaction of easy absolution. But Sophia's words echoed in his mind. I'd hate to see that man disappear. The kind man who stayed decent even when he had every right to lash out. He took Richard's hand. Apology acknowledged, not accepted, not yet, but acknowledged. That's more than I deserve. Richard's grip was firm, desperate. For what it's worth, I hope you'll treat the company better than I treated you. I plan to treat it exactly as it deserves, Daniel said evenly, based on merit, not prejudice. Lucas finally spoke up. I was an ass too, worse than an ass. I mocked you, belittled you, treated you like dirt. He ran a hand through his hair. I don't have an excuse, except that I'm used to being the big shot, the important one. You threatened that just by existing, so I tore you down instead of getting to know you. And now, Daniel asked. Now I'm going to be working for you, taking orders from the guy I called a charity case. Lucas laughed bitterly. Karma's a real bitch, isn't it? Only if you deserve it, Daniel said. Tell me, Lucas, if I'd revealed the truth from day one, showed up in a Bugatti and designer suits, would you have treated me differently? Honestly, yes, I would have kissed your ass instead of kicking it. That's what I thought, Daniel stood. That's the problem with people like you. You only respect power and money. You can't see value in anything else. You're right, Lucas admitted, but maybe I can learn if you're willing to teach me. I'm not a teacher, I'm your new boss. Show up on time, do good work, and we'll get along fine. Treat people the way you treated me, and you'll be looking for a new job. Daniel moved toward the door. Sophia, walk me out. She nodded and followed him through the house. At the door, Daniel turned to face her. What happens now? She asked softly. Monday, I take over the company. I implement new policies, new structures. I turn Grant Industries into what it should have been all along. And us. Daniel cupped her face gently. You start at the bottom, not because I want to punish you, but because you need to learn what real work is. What real people deal with. You'll hate it at first. You'll probably quit within a week. I won't quit. If you last a month, we'll have dinner. A real dinner, somewhere modest where the food is good but the prices aren't ridiculous. And if I last longer, then maybe we see if there's anything left worth saving. He dropped his hand. But Sophia, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same man who fell in love with you in that coffee shop. That man was naive, idealistic. He believed love conquered all. This man, he gestured to himself, this man knows better. He's been hurt, betrayed, humiliated. He doesn't trust easily anymore. Then I'll earn it back, Sophia said firmly, however long it takes. It might take forever. Good thing I'm patient, she smiled, and for a moment he saw the woman he'd fallen for. Besides, forever with you sounds better than a day without you. Daniel shook his head, fighting a smile. You've gotten better at the romantic gestures. I've had time to practice. Turns out being miserable is great motivation. He kissed her forehead, a gesture of affection, not passion. See you Monday, Sophia. Monday, she echoed. Daniel drove away from the Grant estate, watching it shrink in his rearview mirror. Tomorrow was Saturday, then Sunday, then Monday would come, and everything would change. But maybe change wasn't always bad. Maybe sometimes it was exactly what people needed. Monday morning arrived with crisp autumn air and clear skies. Daniel arrived at Grant Industries headquarters at 8:30, giving himself time to settle into his new office before the staff arrived. His office, Richard's old office, had been cleared of personal effects over the weekend. Now it was a blank slate, ready for him to make it his own. James was waiting with coffee and a tablet full of files. "Good morning, sir. I've prepared briefings on all key personnel, current projects, and outstanding issues. The executive team meeting is at 10. All attendees have been notified of the ownership change." "And Richard moved to a smaller office on the 3rd floor, as per your instructions. He's handling it better than expected." "He doesn't have much choice," Daniel said, settling behind the desk. The view from this office was impressive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He'd seen this view from the other side, looking at this building from his own office, never imagining he'd one day sit here. At 9 o'clock, Sophia arrived. She wore a simple dress suit, professional but not designer, and carried a notepad. Her hair was pulled back, her makeup minimal. She looked nervous and determined in equal measure. "Reporting for duty," she said from the doorway. Daniel looked up from his computer. "You're early. I wanted to make a good impression on my new boss." "Sit," he gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Let's establish some ground rules. 1. When we're here, I'm Mr. Reed and you're Ms. Grant. No exceptions. 2. You get no special treatment. If anything, you'll be held to a higher standard because of our history. 3. You start in customer service. You'll be taking calls, handling complaints, learning what our clients actually need. 4. If you can't hack it, you walk away with dignity. No drama, no tears, no using our past relationship as leverage." "Understood," Sophia said seriously. "Can I add a rule?" "What?" "When we're not here, we're Daniel and Sophia. Not boss and employee, not ex-spouses, just two people trying to figure things out. Deal?" Daniel considered. "Deal. Now go report to Margaret Chen in customer service. She's expecting you." Sophia stood, hesitated, then extended her hand formally. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Reed." He shook it, maintaining the professional distance. "Don't thank me yet, Ms. Grant. Thank me if you're still here in a month." The executive meeting at 10 was tense. Daniel entered the conference room to find 6 senior managers waiting, all trying to hide their nervousness. Richard sat at the far end of the table, in what had clearly been the least important seat. "Good morning," Daniel said, taking the head of the table. "I'm Daniel Reed, your new majority owner. For those who don't know my background, I'm CEO of Reed Holdings, and I've spent the last 10 years building businesses and investing in undervalued assets. Grant Industries is my latest acquisition." He paused, letting that sink in. "Now I know what you're thinking. New owner means layoffs, restructuring, probably a lot of panic. Here's the truth. Grant Industries has good bones, strong client relationships, quality products, talented staff. What it doesn't have is modern infrastructure, efficient processes, or leadership that values merit over pedigree. That changes today." One manager, a woman named Patricia, raised her hand tentatively. "Mr. Reed, what exactly does that mean for us?" "It means if you're good at your job, you keep it. If you're coasting on connections or tenure, you won't." Daniel opened his tablet. "I've reviewed everyone's performance over the past 3 years. Some of you are excellent. Some of you are adequate. Some of you should have been let go years ago, but weren't because of who you know rather than what you deliver." The tension in the room ratcheted up several notches. "Over the next month, you'll each meet with me individually. We'll discuss your roles, your goals, and how you fit into the new vision for this company. If you're committed to excellence, we'll work well together. If you're committed to maintaining the status quo, I suggest you start updating your resumes." He looked around the table. "Any questions?" Richard spoke up. "What happens to the Grant name?" "The company stays Grant Industries for now. Branding has value, and I'm not interested in destroying that. But make no mistake, This isn't your family's company anymore. It's mine. Clear. Crystal, Richard said quietly. The meeting continued for another hour, Daniel laying out his vision for modernization, efficiency improvements, and cultural change. He was neither cruel nor kind, just professional, direct, and uncompromising. When it ended, Richard approached him. You handled that well. I handle all my business well, Daniel said. That's why I have billions and you needed my investment. Richard winced but nodded. Fair point. I wanted to say Sophia started today, in customer service. I'm aware I assigned her there. That's going to be hard for her. She's never worked a day in her life. I know, that's why she's starting there. Daniel closed his tablet. Richard, are we going to have a problem? Because if you're going to run interference every time I make a decision about your daughter, this arrangement won't work. No interference. I just wanted you to know I appreciate it, that you're giving her a chance. I'm not giving her anything. She's earning it, same as everyone else. Still, thank you. Daniel watched Richard leave, shoulders slightly hunched, moving like a man who'd lost his kingdom, which Daniel supposed he had. The first week was brutal for everyone, especially Sophia. Daniel watched from a distance as she struggled with the phone system, dealt with angry customers, learned to navigate office politics without the shield of her family name. She stayed late every night, came in early every morning, and never once complained where anyone could hear. On Friday, Margaret Chen stopped by Daniel's office. Mr. Reed, I wanted to give you an update on Ms. Grant. Problems? The opposite, actually. She's been surprising. Took a call yesterday from a client who was threatening to cancel their contract. She spent 2 hours on the phone with him, researched solutions, coordinated with 3 different departments, and saved the account. Then she stayed until 8 documenting everything so the next person who gets that client will have all the context. Daniel felt a flicker of pride. That's good work. It is, but sir, some of the other employees are giving her a hard time. They know she's a Grant, know her history with you. There's been some resentment. How is she handling it? With grace mostly, but I wanted you to be aware. Thank you, Margaret. Keep me posted. After Margaret left, Daniel pulled up the security footage from the customer service floor. He found Sophia at her desk, head down, working through a stack of files. 2 co-workers whispered behind her, clearly gossiping. She glanced back, saw them, and returned to her work without reacting. That weekend, Daniel called her, not a formal work call, but a personal one. How are you holding up? He asked when she answered. Is this my boss checking on an employee, or Daniel checking on Sophia? The latter. She sighed, honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. My feet hurt from standing at the file cabinets. My ears hurt from the phone headset. My pride hurts from being the office gossip subject, but I'm still here. Are you going to make it to our dinner? Try and stop me, though fair warning, I might fall asleep in my soup. I've never been this tired in my life. Daniel smiled despite himself. Tuesday night, that Italian place near your old coffee shop, the one with the good pasta and the cheap wine. The one you took me to on our 3rd date. That's the one. I'll be there, her voice softened. Daniel, thank you for not making this easy. I mean, I needed to learn this. I'm learning it. You're doing good work, Sophia. Keep it up. After he hung up, Daniel sat back in his chair. 4 weeks ago, he'd been planning revenge. Now he was planning dinner with his ex-wife, proud of her growth, cautiously optimistic about their future. Life had a strange way of working out. Tuesday evening, Daniel arrived at the restaurant first. He'd traded his business suit for jeans and a sweater, the kind of casual outfit he'd worn during his mechanic days. When Sophia arrived, she looked exhausted but happy. I made it, she announced, sliding into the booth across from him. 1 month, well, 1 month and 2 days, but close enough. Congratulations, Daniel signaled the waiter. How does it feel? Surreal, satisfying, terrifying, all of the above. She accepted a menu but didn't open it. Daniel, can I tell you something without it getting weird? Depends what it is. I'm proud of myself. For the first time in my life, I'm proud of something I accomplished without my family's money or name or connections. Margaret told me I saved that account, that my work mattered, and it felt better than anything I've ever done before. That's not weird at all, Daniel said gently. That's growth. They ordered, she got the pasta carbonara, he got the lasagna, they shared garlic bread like old times. The conversation flowed easily, covering work and life and everything in between. She told him about her co-workers, the challenges of the job, the satisfaction of solving problems. He told her about the changes he was implementing at Grant Industries, the resistance he was facing, the victories he was winning. Your father is actually doing well, Daniel mentioned. He's adapted to his new role better than I expected. Turns out when you strip away the ego, Richard Grant is actually a decent operations manager. That's generous of you, Sophia said, considering everything. It's not generous, it's practical. He has skills and I need skilled people. Why waste talent because of personal grudges? Because most people would. Most people would humiliate him the way he humiliated you. I'm not most people, Daniel met her eyes, and I'm not interested in revenge anymore. I'm interested in building something better. Including us. Maybe, he reached across the table, taking her hand. You've proven you can work hard. You've shown you can handle adversity. But Sophia, there's still a lot we need to work through. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. I know, but can we keep trying? Keep having dinners and conversations and moments like this? Yeah, Daniel said softly, we can keep trying. 6 months later, Grant Industries had been transformed. Revenue was up, employee satisfaction was up, and the company had landed 3 major contracts that Daniel's connections had facilitated. Richard ran operations, Lucas had found his niche in business development, and Victoria had joined the board as a consultant, bringing her society connections to bear on client relations. The Grant family had adapted, learned, and surprisingly, thrived under Daniel's leadership. Sophia had moved from customer service to project management, earning the promotion through merit and performance. Her co-workers respected her now, seeing her as someone who'd paid her dues rather than coasted on privilege. And Daniel and Sophia had slowly, carefully rebuilt their relationship. Dinners became weekends, weekends became dates, dates became plans for the future. On a Saturday morning in early spring, Daniel took Sophia back to the coffee shop where they'd first met. Same corner table, same mediocre coffee, same comfortable silence. I've been thinking, Daniel said, about us, about the future, about everything that's happened. That sounds ominous. Not ominous, just honest. He took her hand. A year ago, I would have said we were a mistake, that the class divide was too big, the hurt too deep, the trust too broken to repair, but you proved me wrong. Is that an apology? It's an acknowledgement. You worked harder than anyone I've ever seen. You changed fundamentally who you are. You earned back my respect and my trust piece by piece. He pulled a small box from his pocket. So I'm asking you, Sophia Grant, if you want to try this again, not as the mechanic and the heiress, not as the CEO and the employee, but as 2 people who learn the hard way what really matters. Sophia stared at the ring box, tears streaming down her face. Daniel. Before you answer, you should know this ring is different from the first one. It's more expensive because I can afford it now, but it means exactly the same thing, that I choose you, not your family's status, not your connections, just you. She opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond that caught the morning light. It's beautiful. So are you, even more beautiful than when I first met you, because now I know what's underneath the exterior. Strength, determination, loyalty, growth, everything I could ask for. Yes, Sophia whispered. Yes, I'll marry you again, but Daniel, this time I promise. You don't have to promise anything, he interrupted. We've both learned enough to know that promises are just words. Actions matter, and your actions over the past 6 months have told me everything I need to know. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and she launched herself into his arms, laughing and crying at once. I love you, she said. The mechanic, the CEO, the man who tested me, the man who forgave me, all of you. I love you too. The heiress, the customer service rep, the woman who proved me wrong, all of you. They sat there in that coffee shop, where it had all begun, starting fresh with eyes wide open and hearts full of hard-won wisdom. The wedding, a year later, was nothing like the first one. Instead of the Grant estate, they married in a simple ceremony at City Hall with just close friends and family. Instead of designer gowns and tuxedos, they wore what made them comfortable. Instead of champagne fountains and ice sculptures, they had cake and laughter. Richard gave a toast that made everyone cry. I once told my daughter she was throwing away her future by marrying a mechanic. Turns out, I was the one who almost threw away hers. Daniel Reed taught us all what real wealth looks like. It's not in bank accounts or estates or status. It's in character, integrity, and the courage to become better than you were. Welcome back to the family, son. This time, we'll try to deserve you. Victoria added, I've learned more about myself in the past 18 months than in the previous 50 years. Daniel, you've been more than generous with us, giving us second chances, helping us grow, leading our company to places we never could have reached. But more than that, you've shown us what unconditional love looks like. The kind that tests, challenges, and ultimately strengthens. Sophia, you've found a rare man. Don't let him go again. Lucas's speech was shorter. I used to think money and status made someone important. Then Daniel bought my family's company and showed me that kindness and fairness are worth more than both. He could have destroyed us. Instead, he helped us become better versions of ourselves. That's real power. As the sun set on their new beginning, Daniel pulled Sophia close. No regrets. Only one, she said, that I didn't appreciate you the first time around, but I won't make that mistake again. Good, because this time I'm not hiding anything. You get all of me, the billions, the businesses, the complicated family history, everything. And you get all of me, the real me, not the society princess, the woman who knows how to work hard, who values substance over status, who learned that true wealth isn't what you have, but who you become. They kissed as the city lights flickered on around them, two people who journeyed through humiliation, revenge, forgiveness, and ultimately redemption. The path hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's becoming so strong, so successful, so undeniably yourself that they can't help but recognize what they almost lost. And sometimes, the best love story isn't the easy one. It's the one that challenges you, breaks you, and then helps you rebuild into something stronger. Daniel Reed had learned both lessons well. As they drove away from the reception in his Bugatti, no more hiding, no more pretending, Sophia rested her head on his shoulder. Where to now? She asked. Anywhere we want, Daniel replied. We've got the rest of our lives to figure it out. And for the first time in years, that future looked bright. The end. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, second chances, and the true meaning of wealth, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories. Hit that like button and drop a comment below telling us what you thought about Daniel and Sophia's journey. Would you have given them a second chance? Let us know.